Hey guys, this is Lindy from Love Create Celebrate. Welcome back to our channel. I'm coming in on a Friday today, a special day because I really wanted to join Hillary from Old World Home with her $5 Goodwill challenge. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on another DIY or home renovation video. Today I'm participating in the $5 Goodwill challenge hosted by Hillary at Old World Home. In this challenge we spend less than $5 at Goodwill and make them into new decor or revamp them to use them in our home. Today I am doing two Goodwill DIYs. Both we spent less than $5 on and both turned into amazing DIY decor. We usually don't have a lot of options for thrifted stuff here because we live in a small community in the north, but I found a few things that I think honestly you could probably find at any thrift store. Today I'm DIYing with a flower pot, a wooden bowl, and some old rolling pins. I had a great idea for how to turn them into new decor pieces, so hopefully you'd like these two projects. Here we go. My idea for the first project came from this one flower pot. I've seen a lot of these pedestal planters like these ones from West Elm, and I thought with this planter top I could recreate that. I also found this little walnut bowl that I thought I could use to layer with the flower pot. The first thing we did was test to see if our planter actually fits nicely in the bowl. Unfortunately, the bowl was a little bit small for the planter, but since it's made of wood, we know we could easily modify the bowl so that it would fit inside. Our plan was to sand down the inside edges because I think it just needed a little bit more space for the pot to sit inside. But before we could start sanding, we had to make sure our bowl was nice and secure, so we clamped it tightly to our workstation. We wanted a good lip of the wooden bowl removed, and since using sandpaper would take a really long time to do that, we opted instead to use one of these grinders. You could also use a multi-tool or a Dremel for this, but the grinder is just a bit faster. So I'm just trying to go around the bowl and notch out the edge. I just have to notch a little bit into the wood all the way around the rim so that our planter sits in it nicely. Here you can see how deep the notch was that we made, and now our planter fits perfectly inside. Since our planter already had a hole in the bottom, we needed to make a way to create some drainage in the bottom of the wooden bowl as well. To do this, we used our drill and put it right through the hole at the bottom of the pot to make a mark in the wooden bowl. Once we knew where we wanted the hole to be, we used the drill to drill straight through the wooden bowl. Now we're ready to actually attach the two pieces. To do this, we're going to use a two-part epoxy glue, but I didn't want any of the glue to get onto my wooden bowl and wreck the finish or anything, so I first wrapped it with frog tape. I'll link to the glue that we're using in the description below, but this two-part epoxy from Gorilla Glue is a really strong glue that I knew would be able to hold these two pieces together permanently. For this glue to activate and start working, you first have to squeeze both parts of the glue out together and then mix them. When the glue was ready, I started applying it to the rim of my wooden bowl so that my planter could stick on top of it. You need to apply a nice thick coat so it actually stays and grabs onto the planter when you put it in. The first time we put the planter on, you can see that there's very little glue on the rim of my planter. So we actually mixed up more glue and put on a thicker coat to make sure everything would stick together. Make sure to wipe down any spots where glue seeped out as well, using either a dry cloth or acetone if needed. When you're ready, you can remove all that frog tape and turn your planter over to dry. So here's what the planter looked like when it was all done. We could have spray painted the whole thing so it was cohesive like the ones I showed before, but I actually really loved the look of that walnut bowl against the black, so we just left it. Honestly, for $5, I think this is a pretty good DIY. Okay, so on to our second DIY of the day. For this one, we spent less than $5 on 2 rolling pins from our local thrift store, and we're gonna make them into candlesticks. So the first step in this project is to cut off the handles, and we needed to cut the metal pin going inside of the rolling pin. To do this, we used a handheld metal saw. After you pull the metal handle out, if you do happen to have one of these little white guys tucked in the center of your rolling pin, you can use a flathead screwdriver to pry it out. Our other rolling pin actually had the handle held on with nails, so we used a flathead screwdriver to take the handle off, and then we clamped down the rolling pin and used the back end of the hammer to pry the nail out. The plan from here is to cut the rolling pin into 2 pieces to make 2 pillar candlesticks. To do this, I had to first decide what size I wanted the candlesticks, and I marked out my rolling pin at 4 inches from one side. I also marked the rolling pin 4 inches above that just to let myself visualize the difference in the heights of the 2 pillar candlesticks and what they would look like beside one another before I committed to cutting the rolling pins at this spot. Once I knew where we wanted them cut, we cut them at the miter saw into 2 pieces. And since I had 2 rolling pins, I decided to do it for both of them, giving myself 4 pillar candlesticks. The rolling pins all had beveled edges at the ends, so I wanted to use those at the top of the pillars to give them a little bit of character. Then the last step was to cut the hole in the top big enough that I would be able to fit a candlestick inside. The candlesticks I'm using are 3/4 inch ones, which is a pretty standard size, so we're using a 3/4 inch spade bit to cut the hole in the candlesticks. We're using a drill press to drill the holes because it's more stable than a handheld drill. We used red tape to mark our spade bit so we would know exactly how far down we wanted to go in each candlestick. And we marked it so that it would go down about 1 inch deep. We put the little white piece back inside the rolling pin to actually help stabilize our spade bit, but if you had a 3/4 inch Forstner bit, that would do an even better job of making these holes. Once we were done drilling all of the holes, we used sandpaper to sand all of the sides and the inside of each of the candlesticks. After sanding, you might have some sawdust stuck on the outside or inside of your piece. I just used a tack cloth, which is a sticky cloth that picks up all of that debris and sawdust so that I would have these pieces nice and clean before I applied any stain or varnish. If you want to stain these guys, now would be the time to do that. I wanted to keep this nice natural finish on mine, so I chose to just protect them. I skipped any staining and instead just added a polyacrylic protective coat to the outside. The biggest reason I chose not to stain them is because I thought that my 2 rolling pins were made out of different woods, so I thought the stains would come out differently on each of them, and I wanted to keep them a nice set of 4. Friends, I am so happy with this makeover. I cannot believe I turned boring old rolling pins into these beautiful candlesticks. I'm probably going to use them in tablescapes. I'm definitely going to use them on my shelves. I just love them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked those tutorials. If you like the projects, please give them a thumbs up. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments below.
And if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you can be notified of more great DIY and home reno videos. Thanks for watching.